Banksy. You know the name, of course, but you don't know the face. He is, without a doubt, the world's most famous anonymous artist, a ghost who haunts our city walls with these incredibly powerful images. He's part political activist, part prankster, and somehow a multi-million-dollar brand. So how did that happen? That's what we're going to unpack.
And that really is the central paradox of his entire career, isn't it? This is an artist who critiques the system from the outside, yet that same system has completely embraced him, turning what is technically vandalism into blue-chip investments. How is that even possible?
Well, the answer is this fascinating mix of street smarts, high art, and believe it or not, corporate law. We're going to follow the clues to understand how a street artist managed to pull off one of the greatest art heists in history, all while staying completely in the shadows.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start in the graffiti pits of Bristol, where it all began. From there, we'll join the hunt for his real identity, relive his most audacious stunt ever, and then try to untangle the legal paradox that protects his work. And finally, we'll ask the big question. What happens when a rebel becomes the establishment?
All right, let's kick things off in the Bristol underground scene of the 1990s. You got to understand, this place was a unique melting pot of music, art, and protest, and it is the perfect crucible for the legend of Banksy to be born.
So he didn't just appear out of nowhere. He started out as a teenager, doing freehand graffiti with a crew called DBZ. But his work evolved, and fast. By '97, he was creating these huge, politically charged murals. By 2001, he was even touring Mexico with his activist football club to play against Zapatista rebels. But it was his move to London in 2000 that was the real game changer. And it was all thanks to one key innovation.
And this is the genius part. The switch to stencils, it wasn't just some artistic choice. It was a tactical one, born from a close call with the police. This technique let him create really complex images with incredible speed, which is absolutely crucial when you're trying not to get caught. It became his signature, and really, the key to his global success. Okay, now for the million-dollar question. Who is Banksy? You know, his anonymity is the absolute cornerstone of his brand, but that has not stopped an army of journalists, scientists, and armchair detectives from trying to unmask him. Over the years, a few key suspects have emerged. First, you've got Robin Gunningham, a name linked to Banksy through some pretty sophisticated geographic profiling. Then there's Robert Del Naja, 3D from the band Massive Attack, another pioneer of that whole Bristol stencil scene. We've also got this mysterious Robbie, a name that was dropped in a recently unearthed BBC interview. And of course, there's that tantalizing theory that Banksy isn't one person at all, but a whole collective of artists.
Now, the two leading theories offer this really fascinating contrast. The case for Gunningham, it's built on geographic profiling, which is a method cops usually use to catch criminals. It links artworks directly to his known hangouts. The Del Naja theory, on the other hand, is simpler, but just as compelling. Wherever Massive Attack plays a concert, a new Banksy just seems to pop up. But listen, Banksy is so much more than just a mystery. He's a master of performance art. And nothing, absolutely nothing, proves that more than his legendary attack on the art market, from inside its most prestigious auction house.
Okay, picture this. Sotheby's, London, October 2018. The hammer comes down on Banksy's iconic Girl with Balloon for over £1 million. The second it's sold, an alarm sounds. A shredder, secretly built into the frame, whirs to life, slicing the bottom half of the canvas into ribbons, right in front of everybody. In one single, shocking moment, Banksy didn't just destroy an artwork, he created a brand new one, live on stage, which he perfectly renamed Love is in the Bin.
So, did his big anti-capitalist stunt actually work? Well, 3 years later, that same shredded artwork sold for a staggering £18.6 million. That is a nearly 1,700% return on investment. And this is the ultimate Banksy paradox. The more he rails against the system, the more the system rewards him for it.
And that stunt perfectly sets up the next big contradiction at the heart of the Banksy phenomenon. How an artist who despises corporate control has been forced to use the very tools of the corporate world just to protect his own work. I mean, the guy himself famously declared copyright is for losers, pretty much encouraging people to freely use his images. But as his fame exploded, so did a tidal wave of unauthorized t-shirts, mugs, you name it. And that's where his anti-corporate stance ran smack into a major legal wall. See, here's the catch. Because he's anonymous, he can't actually claim copyright, which requires you to identify yourself as the author. So, to fight back against all the bootleggers, he's been forced to turn to trademark law, a tool of the very corporate world he's always critiquing. It's a classic case of having to become the thing you hate in order to protect yourself from.
So what's his solution? He creates a company. It's called Pest Control. It is the one and only official body that can authenticate his work, and it's his main weapon in the fight against forgeries and knockoffs. Pest Control also enforces his ethics. They refuse to certify any street art that's been ripped from public walls for private sale. So in effect, it's the corporate headquarters for an anti-corporate artist, a necessary evil in the world of high-stakes art.
So all of this brings us to today, where Banksy isn't just a street artist anymore. Let's be honest. He's a cultural institution, a global brand, and an incredibly powerful force in the art market. I mean, just look at what happened with his London Animal series in August of 2024. It's a perfect snapshot of the chaos. Over just a few days, new pieces popped up all over the city. One was literally stolen within hours. Another was acquired by a museum. A third was tagged over by another graffiti artist. It's the whole unpredictable life cycle of a Banksy artwork playing out in real time. And if you're wondering about the money side of things, well, the Banksy brand is basically stronger than ever. The market for his prints is incredibly stable and mature. In fact, his unsigned prints, which are the most accessible way for collectors to get in on the action, are growing at nearly 15% a year. The art of the ultimate rebel has become a rock-solid, blue-chip investment. And so, that brings us full circle. We have a rebel who has been so completely and successfully institutionalized that his critiques of the system have themselves become a valuable commodity within that system. Banksy's journey from the streets of Bristol to the auction houses of London has been a masterclass in subversion. But it also raises a really profound question. When the ultimate outsider becomes the ultimate insider, what's left to rebel against?